our last panel for the day, so I can see people breathing a little better now. So for this panel discussion is about critical questions to ask your Colo and cloud providers. It will be moderated by Edward Van Leent, Chairman and CEO of EPI Group of Companies. Edward, if I could ask you. May I also invite Shiba Hasnain, Senior IT and Digital Transformation Specialist for the Government of Sharjah. Shiba ma'am, please. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Abdul Rahman Khavi, Head of IT Department, Emirates National Schools. Please, sir. Mr. Padam Kafle, Head IT and Automation, Healthcare and Information Technology, Aster Hospitals. If you could come up, please. And unfortunately, we don't have Mr. Shafiq Rahman, Group IT Manager, EPI Group, and he has conveyed his regards that he's not able to make it, but he'll check out the videos.
Anyway, well, welcome for those of you who've been, hanging out for all the way till this while. So the panel will be discussing about, the critical questions to ask for your commercial data center operator, whether cloud or co-location provider. And as a panel leader, there is always a joy having good experts on the team. That makes my job much lighter. So maybe we can do a quick introduction. I know the name was there, but maybe you can say who you are and a little bit about your job role in the company.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Abdul Rahman, I'm the head of IT department at Emirates National Schools. I'm heading the whole department of IT, supporting like 12,500 students, 26 schools across all the UAE. Now I've been with this school for the last 5 years. Before that, I spent 25 years in telecom. Before that, I was in the government for almost like 3 years. And then before that, 6 years in the banking industry. So I have a big diversity of different verticals across the industry. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edward and W.Media for giving me opportunity to present my ideas. My name is Shiba Hasnain. I am Senior IT and Digital Transformation Specialist. I have been working with Sharjah Roads and Transport Authority, Government of Sharjah since last 9.5 years, and recently I have joined their new department to evaluate their data center and project management services. Before that, I have been with one of the renowned distributor in UAE for enterprise data center equipments, and I have been also a programmer. So that's all about me.
Hi, good evening everybody. So my name is Padam Kafle. I'm a head of IT and automation for Aster Hospital UAE. So my experience is totally into the healthcare. So in fact, I started my career from the healthcare IT only. So it is almost 17 years now working with the healthcare IT. So initially I started with the developer. So I was a developer in the software development company that also developed the software for the hospital information system or the EMRs. Then later I moved into the UAE with the big portfolio. So I am managing roughly 15 hospitals now within GCC. Very recently I got the portfolio for the GCC. So this is what about me. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So today's topic is really all about the question that many people are facing. Running your own on-premise data center and infrastructure, and then potentially moving it into either a cloud environment or a commercial data center. And as you know, in the IT world, we always come up with new inventions that promise to fix all our problems, right? And this one is cloud. Cloud is the magic word that is going to take all your worries away and everything will be solved. Now, we know that that's not really the problem or the real answer, right? Because we know that there are many issues with moving, your enterprise into a cloud or into a commercial data center environment. So moving in such an environment is, not only a commercial decision, although it often is from the business management point of view. It's also a technical matter that needs to be discussed, and also an emotional, decision that's sometimes being made. Giving your faith into the hands of somebody else that is going to take care of it and hopefully does it in a good job. So a lot of things can go wrong. And if something goes wrong, it could have massive implications for your day-to-day business. And that's obviously what we try to avoid. So back to the panel, you might have some experience in, moving, either full or part of your on-prem IT environment into cloud or a commercial data center. I don't want to hear the good things because that is great. We want to learn about, things that can go wrong. So, Abdurrahman, if I can give you the mic first, can you tell me maybe about some of the experience or horror stories that you've heard and things that you learned from it to say, this is what I would do differently, trying to prevent it?
Perfect. Definitely, you mentioned that the cloud is not a solution for everything. This is a myth that everybody should be aware of. And I'm an old school person that I always look at measure twice, cut once, which means you need really to do your homework. You need to make sure that you do all your assessment, all your necessary preparation, study before you move. Identify. Of course, it's part of the strategy to identify what are the workloads, are the potential candidates for the cloud. Are you going for co-location services? Are you talking about like lift and shift to the new destination as a colo? Are you going for infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, or whatever it is? So these different things should be thoroughly thought of before you take your decision. Once you identify the first potential candidate for this, then you need to look at the architecture of the solution, the application, before you start touching it. What are the dependencies? Is it like 2 layers, 3 layers of application? What are you moving up to the cloud? What kind of testing you're going to do? Whatever you have here today in your on-premise does not necessarily work exactly the same when you replicate it on the cloud, because you're talking about dependencies between the applications, the interoperability between the applications, the securities, the latency, the performance of these applications that will be totally different here. And that doesn't stop here. Let's say you took all the necessary precautions, you did all the preparations, and you moved the first application successfully. Excellent, good job. Now, you were able to address the interoperability between this new application running on the cloud and the other applications running on-prem. Now, next is the second potential candidate for this. You look at this application, you repeat the same exercise. However, this application talks to the application which is on the cloud. So now you need to think of what is the interoperability between these two different applications. You move it up, that's not the end of the story. You need to make sure that these two applications now start talking to each other the same way. They do not throw errors, they do not throw issues for you. Performance is the same, and so on. And then last thing you should be looking at is your legacy applications, running on legacy hardware. An application that was developed maybe in-house that has never been, the developers are not there anymore, or the company that provided this does not exist anymore. So this is something you might keep on premises. So it's not necessarily that you're 100% on cloud. You might end up in a hybrid, and that's the most situation that you want to follow all the time. So this is one thing. The very, very next point that people often overlook is that your team is something that you should really invest in to make sure that they gain the knowledge, they gain the necessary skill sets to move to the cloud, to deal with the applications hosted on the cloud. How these applications will perform, how to handle these applications. This is extremely important, because here what you're talking about is the reputation of your company. The reputation of your business is in stake here. You cannot really take any risk here. You need to make sure that you cover everything from A to Z. So I don't want to take the whole afternoon for this. I want to keep also some time for my colleagues to really add something here. So yeah, that's something to start with.
Excellent, thank you. Maybe Padam first, and then because you're a digital transformation specialist, so you have probably the best horror stories. So let's go to Padam first, and maybe you can share your experience in the hospital, which is a very critical industry. So tell us about your experience.
Yeah. So I think it is very, very relevant to me. So in 2018, we take a decision to move into the cloud. So we are the first hospital in probably in the Middle East to have an entire data center into the cloud. So of course, so I think most of the thing the fellow panelists already covered here. So two things I want to elaborate here. One is the data security, right? Because in the healthcare, the data security is a big concern, right? So the patient data privacy, especially when you are operating in the UAE and the Dubai, right? The patient privacy, there is no negotiation. If there is any breach, you are gone, right? So you have, even if you are saying sorry, you are not going to be operated in this unit, right? So this area. So that critical the patient data is for us. And the other thing is like whenever you are actually thinking about the cloud, right? So of course the on-prem you have everything you can do, right? So you can write the code which can actually run into the 32 core processor, or maybe even the 64. You can go this physical core you can put anytime. But when we are moving into the cloud, the cost is the one thing. Of course, in the cloud, you have more flexibility in terms of the infra to downsize or the upsize. But what is the cost going to incur you, right? So that is something when you are moving into the cloud, you'll have to pay in each hour, not even hour, each minutes you'll have to pay, right? So the sizing is one thing I think we need to really careful, and we'll have to think how these codes or the program are going to be executed into the cloud. The data security for sure. This is something that we need to see how this data is going to be secure, where this data is going to be secure. In the healthcare, there is one more the very critical point is something called HIPAA, right? So at any cost, your data should not go outside your geography, right? So if at all there are any requirement, you will have to get the authorization from the authority, and then you can go, take it out, right? So are the cloud provider HIPAA compliance? Are they operating from this unit, this geography? Is your data is residing in this geography, right? And of course, what is the data backup policy? If at all there are any disaster tomorrow, how you are going to do? And the most critical thing here is, of course, in the healthcare, you need to consider the hybrid from day one, because the plan B is always hybrid, right? So if you have a latency, if your application is not performing in the time, so you have no choice, because you cannot say the patient to wait. Okay, my system is not working. Please wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Now, every seconds are critical for the patient, right? So unlike other sectors, in the banking you can wait for 1 hour also, right? Because you are just going to withdraw the money or you are going to deposit the money. But here we are talking about the people life. So we cannot. So that is where So of course the data security is one part. The other part is the sizing. The how your infra is going to be perform into the cloud when you are moving. So in our experience, of course, when we moved into the cloud, for a couple of days it was really a challenge, to be very honest. But then the one good lesson what I have learned from the cloud movement is you should have an expertise. You cannot just wait and watch for the things. So if you are moving your infra into the cloud, you should have someone who can actually assist you, right? There can be in every another second. So your program is running very well. Suddenly it stops responding. Now what is the reason? You should be able to immediately diagnose, and you should be able to fix it out, right? So you should have some expertise there. So these are what my learning from the on-prem to the cloud movement.
Excellent. So thank you, Shiva.
Yeah, actually, in this case, there are different scenarios: post-COVID scenario and pre-COVID scenario. So, in case of government organization, I would say they were also looking for co-location partners even before COVID. But later to COVID, any other organization, private and government, all are moving towards this area to just hire the data center, take a data center either from co-location partner or from cloud. So based on my thought here, based on my experiences, we must have a good research work to understand what type of movement would be suitable for us. Like for government organizations, data privacy and security is the biggest concern, and that's why still the cloud movement is not much preferable. So in that case, if you are looking for a co-location partner, you must understand your infrastructure first. what is your business basically, and based on your business and infrastructure, what would be the future growth for your company? How would you relocate things? How are you increasing your branches all over in one country or worldwide? Based on that, you must see, like, if you are looking for co-location or cloud, you can also opt like a hybrid model where co-location partner will be providing you cloud services based on your growth. And because data growth is the future, and you must also consider data growth and security. So first thing is that one. The second thing is, when you are looking for such kind of critical decision, you must understand what type of standards they are following in their field, so that you will have a surety that wherever you are keeping your data or infrastructure, it is overall safe, secure, and it is following the compliance of a country and international standards of data transfer and security. So this is the core thing. Next is, you must understand the tier level you are falling in. Like data center are different 4 tier levels are there based on the criticality of your information. Like the base layer is where your data, you are not in hurry to like up things, like 2-3 hours downtime is for you. Second, like downtime increases and you need more power usage. And the topmost is when you are in need of 96 hours outrage of the services. So in that case, you must have first thing to avoid any mistake. And usually people do that mistake. They don't have much understanding about the scenarios, what they are in, what type of compliance they must follow, what types of standards the co-location company must follow to give them the surety and security and sustainability of the data. That's what.
Okay. Well, many things highlighted, the human factor, things like business cost, and I think the biggest mistake that people think that cloud is going to be cheaper. That's what everybody thinks, right? It was, I don't know how old you guys are and ladies are, but in my time there was this fantastic called IT outsourcing. And there was this famous company called EDS, and they came to the CEO and said, listen, IT is not your critical part, right? We take it over, including your people, service, everything. And we're going to promise you we cut down your IT cost with 10%. Now, to a CEO, and being a CEO myself, 10% reduction in cost is fantastic, right? Straight to the bottom line. However, what most people noticed after that, the cost actually went up. And that was happening, right? The good old service level agreement say, if I install a server, it takes 1 day. And we all have this occasion where we said, well, it needs to be within the next 3 hours. And that didn't happen, right? That was an extra bill. And the same as I think we also see in the cloud environment, right? Moving data into the cloud, oh, that's so cheap. It's so, how many terabytes you want to move in the cloud, it's so cheap. But once you want to move it out of the cloud, that's where you're going to be burned, right? And when Abdurrahman came about the human factor, right? Managing a cloud environment, very different. In the old days, when I want to deploy a new application, I had to buy a new server. First cry to my boss, I want a new server. And he'll ask me 1,000 questions why. Then go to procurement, same thing. But now as a system admin in the cloud environment, do Control-C, Control-V, 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 and I suddenly have 5 new servers. And finance get a shock at the end of the month. Like, why the hell did my cloud bill suddenly went, double, triple? Because some guy downstairs, did a Control-V, 10 times. That's what's happening, right? The other thing about what I heard about security. Now, this is what I personally always found very interesting, because this was, especially in the beginning of the cloud, always the first thing that was brought up, right? What about security? Now, ask yourself in your organization, how many security people do you have deployed? Typically 1, sometimes 2, maybe 3. Very often it's the network engineer that is also acting as the security manager. Right? How many do you think maybe Microsoft has, or Amazon, or Google? How many security people you think they have monitoring security? It's much more than you will ever deploy. So the question is always like, is cloud really not secure? Or is it actually even more secure because of these guys know that if something leaks out, it's going to hurt their business 10 times more. So from your experience, say from a security point of view, it was mentioned security is very important, data residency, which hangs together with security as well. Your gut feeling, is things in the cloud more secure or is it on-prem more secure?
So the straight answer is cloud is more secure. Because so I have a couple of experience in this. So one thing is the cloud. We are talking about the cost, right? The cloud can be very, very costly, like you say, right? But cloud can be much cheaper than your on-prem infra also. Mostly the people doesn't see the how long your server lasts into your the on-prem data center. The maximum 5 year, 7 year, 8 year max, right? But then after that 8 year, you will have to have someone to manage these servers, right? You will have to pay the AMCs, right? So I can even disclose the cost. When we are in the on-prem, there was a server that two big server. It is like a server farm, and to manage those server, the AMC we are paying roughly 90,000 to 120,000 dirham in a year. So when we are comparing, if we move into the cloud, right? So of course the data. So again, yes. So if you want to store maybe 100 terabyte data into the cloud, so if you are storing in the way, the cloud actually given you the the opportunity, you can save huge money. So for example, if you have a 100 terabyte of data, out of 100 terabyte, only the 1 terabyte is going to be actively used, right? So the cloud has a very beautiful option. There is something called your file life cycle. You can actually combine into the hard storage, the cold storage, and archive. When you are putting your file into archive, you will not be charging at all. Only if you are accessing those files, that per transaction you will be charging for those, right? So there are thousands of ways where you can actually save your cost. Now coming to the security. So I'll give you my own experience. So today, in my mobile phone, within a second, I get the notification if there is any suspicious access. Even I'll give you this. So my DBA created the one user for the service vendor, and of course it was approved by me. Then suddenly I saw the notification saying that unusual activity of your database. Then immediately I reviewed what is that, and I found okay, this is the service account which is being used, and it is being used from here there. So in the control point of view, you have a lot of control. So I can put straightforward the geolocation, geofencing. So I can only say, okay, these are the people or these are the location your core infra can be connected. Even I can limit it within my the premises also, right? So the people get. So if I compare with this, of course the cloud is much secure because in the on-prem infra, the one is the very common thing is the VPN. You'll have to connect the VPN, but does anybody thought once your VPN is connected, you have access of everything? If I can connect one of my server, then I can roam around all the servers into the data center, right? But in the cloud, we have a different role-based access. So you don't need, of course, the cloud what we deployed. We don't use the VPN at all. So we have access policies. Those access policies I can assign. Okay, this IP can access, but this IP can only access this resource. So from above that, the people cannot access, right? So from the data privacy and data security, there are a lot of options available. Now the SASE is much famous, right? You can have the SASE in place. And the other good thing is today, if I want to upgrade my firewall in the on-prem, right? I'll have to pay huge money. I'll have to get the second box and I'll have to deploy. In the cloud, it is just you have a marketplace, go compare the cost. It's enough, simple, right? So after the time, the very new hospital when we open, I'll give you this example. Within 6 hours, we set a new hospital with the IT infra. Just imagine if it is in the on-prem, then of course, like you said, you'll have to cry with the CEO. Okay, I need a new server. Okay, that does not 1, 2. We need a backup. We need a failover servers, and then the delivery of this server may take another 12 weeks, right? As per current scenario, setting up those servers. And after the time is money. Time equally is money also, right? So So this is what my experience in the security point of view. I found the cloud is much more secure than the on-prem.
Excellent. Shiva?
Yeah, I would go with my fellow advice. Actually, the thing is, on-prem we feel that it is with us, it is secure. But in present scenario, when you give your liability and authority to somebody more experienced and more expert in that field, then of course your data is more secure. And as my friend has given a very realistic and practical example how you have the command to make things happen based on your pay as you go scheme, and whenever you are upgrading your data infrastructure, your firewall and all, it's on just a click. So I would say I would go with this.
Okay. Abdul Rahman?
Well, definitely I won't be the black sheep here. I won't be opposing what my colleagues have mentioned.
No, then you have to leave the panel.
See, the old school where everybody was connecting using the on-premise, where everybody, all the users were connecting from the office. Security used to say, cut the wire. You're secure. You're good. This does not apply anymore. The pandemic has pushed everybody towards digital transformation, moving everything to the cloud. So we have moved the perimeter from the premise, from the campuses, from all the locations that we have, to all the way to the cloud. Now all your access points, wireless access points, controllers, they are from the cloud. So everything is controlled from there. All your security appliances, most of them, they are on the cloud. All your updates that you get for the security appliances is coming from the cloud. You have so much of users which are connecting from the cloud, whether you like it or not. On a VPN, on this, on that, whatever. You apply SASE, you are on Zero Trust, you have XDR, MDR, EDR, whatever you put in to secure your devices, your edge devices. This is fine. So this is what's going on today, and this is the security model today. This is the business model that we are following today. We're forced to follow, and we have to definitely make sure that this is the secure model that we follow. So yes, it is today what is the offering to everyone, that it is on the cloud and it is more secure than on-premise. On-premise is something closed that doesn't even work, doesn't serve the purpose of the business. So it's not a choice anymore.
All right.
Yeah.
And don't forget that a lot of the security issues are caused by who? It's the people, right? Internal. And to some extent, the biggest data leak normally happens because of the people that work in your own company who sees value or think, you know what, I'm moving to another company, and if I bring this big bag with CDs with me with all the data of my old company, that will be lovely. I prove to be more valuable, right? And in a cloud environment, the guy behind or the lady behind the screen, to them it's irrelevant what is there, basically in that sense, sometimes, right? So we talked about move to the cloud environment or a commercial. Now, there are 100,000 things you can ask a provider, but if you would say, I go to a cloud provider or a commercial data center, and I only have the chance to ask them 3 questions, what will be those 3 questions that for you could determine a make or a break to say, I like this particular operator, I think that will be a good fit? I know it's very difficult.
It's very, very little, in fact.
We'll give you 5.
This should go even to discussion.
I'm so generous today.
Yeah, thank you so much. To start with, is what is their offering when it comes to availability. When you're offering me hosting and the availability of my systems, and we'll talk about this very briefly. Availability to start with is the scalability of what you're offering me is something that we should discuss, and then the data backup restoration and retention policies, whatever in place. The security absolutely is something extremely important, and then the last thing that I will look at is the data privacy. Let's start with the availability. When we talk about availability of the system, the offering, now I've seen that people are offering nowadays 100%, which is zero downtime, absolutely zero downtime. Even 4 nines, it means like few minutes throughout the year, and that's extremely challenging. But then you need to read in the fine print. Are we talking about planned, unplanned activities, and what's happening? Oh, okay, you promised me this based on what? You show me what are you having to promise me this? Even the hardware manufacturer will never promise you more than 2 nines. That's the best. So you are not the hardware manufacturer. You have multiple devices. You ensure that end to end you have multiple devices. You have resilience. You have taken care of everything possible. Let's go to the data center itself. Where are you? Where is your data center? Did you select your own data center? Did you build it? Is it purposely built for data center or something was converted? We talk about data center itself and the proximity of the data center. So many things that should be looked at to ensure and to make me satisfied that yes, your offering of 3 nines, 4 nines, 5 nines is something you can really achieve. So you need to show me the underpinning contracts with the back-end supporters that, you really have this kind of assurance that you're giving me. Second point, the scalability. Scalability is something really very, very finicky because this is one of the nice things that cloud offers. One of the main characteristics of cloud is being elastic. Elasticity here is extremely important, that it allows you to really scale up, scale down based on your requirements. Scale out, scale in based again on your requirements, based on your application architecture. For example, let's say, we're not talking here about like your gradual increase on your requirements, but rather I would say, let's say you have billing cycle, let's say you have marketing campaign, where you really need this additional resources for a period of time. So should you really spend for that additional resource, whether it's like increase of compute capacity or increase of instances for the application throughout the time and spend a lot on it? Of course not. And how will this be triggered? Will it be manually triggered, or is it be like based on an incident, based on something that will trigger this increase? And then what is the ceiling? What's actual cost for this? So all this elasticity and kind of elasticity and increase and the capacity is something to be thought of, needs to be assured that yes, your service provider can really deliver this. Because at the end of the day, it's cloud, yes, cloud, but this is a physical data center. It has limitation, it has capacity, it has a dense, it has a power. And then, okay, let's say you're out of this capacity, you need to extend to another one. Okay, are we talking about the second one within the country for those who are looking for the hosting within the country? So many things to be looked at when it comes to capacity, scalability. Next is the backup. Data backup is extremely important here because let's talk about the classical way of backup. You invest a lot on a backup solution. You spend for storage with different layers of storage. You spend on software. You plan your backup within a certain time window. You probably take down some applications or work on offline, take copies here and there in multiple locations. And you miss the very last point, is that you need to test your backup. You need to do a restoration on a regular basis, and not only data, you're talking about the data, the application, and make sure that this is up and running and working condition. It's not like, okay, I restored, there's a file is there. Yes, but does it work? Is it really corrupt data or proper data? So this complete process of backup needs to be assured by the service provider. Are you going to take backup and assure me that this is the RPO, though this is related to the disaster recovery, but this is what we're talking about. When we say that data availability, backup, restoration is extremely important to be discussed in details and agreed upon. Security is something that we can talk hours and hours about. I mean, my colleagues have already mentioned something about it. Last thing is the data and who has access to the data, who can see my data. That's extremely important. Can we make sure that this GDPR is in place? Do we have the data privacy already imposed here? And we can talk the whole afternoon about this. But anyway, these are since you've been very generous to move it from 3 to 5, I'll stick to 5. So I can skip also for my colleagues here.
Excellent.
Yeah, as my colleague have already mentioned so many points, backup, recovery, archive. So disaster recovery is one point which is very critical for all of us. So we must make sure the recover time objective and recovery point objectives, that must be very much clarified. And the very core thing is, wherever you are going to give the contract, you must make sure all the points in SLAs in a most effective way. Your SLA is the one point of contact. Anytime people may change, but SLA will help you to make things happen in a most effective way. So your SLA must be well placed. The second thing is, of course, contract. What type of contract you will have? How would be your billing process? Basically, how would you consolidate overall billing in one invoice, or it will be in chunks? Basically, for customers, I would always recommend to have one billing. In all the services must go in one billing. It will help you to minimize your overheads in a most effective way. So these are two things. Except that you must also have POC done with customer with your vendor. You must have a POC for at least 1 month, 2 months. You do things in a real environment. It will help you to realize how can you save your money, what type of contract you will do, and many other things which you are not aware of. So that's what from my side.
Well, any additional points in the interest of time, or have they covered pretty much all the points?
I think definitely they covered most of the points, right? So in my opinion, right, the question to ask is, how secure am I, right? So that is the first question we should always ask, because we are moving our entire data into somewhere else where we cannot even see, we cannot even go and check, right? Whether there are 5 server, or 10 server, or 1,000 server, right? So one is of course that. The second is in my experience, how flexible your system, that cloud solution is, because as the head of the IT, my preference is morning when I go to my office, when I open my system, first thing I want to see is how well my resources are. So does the solution provide the combined dashboard where in the one set I can say, okay, I have 1,000 of resources out of 1,000, the 2 are critical in the issue, right? Or the 998 are into the fully healthy condition, right? So this is another point. And the last point, I will be sticking with 3 only. So the last point would be the access review, right? So today I may give access for the 100 of users, right? So can I have an option to go back and see which user has access and what the action has been performed by the user? Because it's a cloud, right? Within a second you can, like you said, the control V. If there are so many control V, or if there are so many control X, it can be else, right? So if it does happen, so we should be able to track back, and of course we cannot fulfill what or cannot revoke whatever has happened in the past, but we can actually make user understand, right? This is the thing what you have done, this is wrong. So next time when you go, please go with that, right? So we can definitely make them understandable, right? And of course we can see how healthy our resource is. That's the main thing, I think.
And resource is a big thing, right? Because when you move into the cloud, normally you need extra help, right? And experience comes in, and experience is hard to find. I always say, if you have, you need heart surgery, and you go to a doctor, you want to make sure about a few things, right? There's only 2 questions you need to ask, really. What is the first question? Have you done it before? Second question, is the patient still alive? And that is when you work with consultants that help you moving into a cloud or outsourced environment, ask those questions. Have you done it before? Was it successful? Is the company still up and running? What did you learn? Now, I want to pick an interest of time, one last thing. Shira, you were mentioning about compliance, standards, etc. Now, in a data center, as a data center operator owner, there's only 3 things you need to get right. Only 3. First, have a robust infrastructure, right? Second thing, having robust, proper processes in place, because no matter whether you have a tier 4, rated 4, without proper processes, things still fall apart. And research has shown that over 40, some reports even dare to say 70% of data centers go down because of the human factor. People like you and me pushing the wrong buttons at the wrong time, etc. And then the third is people, right? Exactly, it's people, because, if I go into your data center, I might not be the right fit. Somebody else might be the perfect fit. So get your infrastructure in place, get your processes in place, and then make sure you have the best people to execute the job. Now, talk about certification. Many certifications are around. Sometimes you go crazy, you really lose the will to live. because there are too many. But if you go to a data center operator and you say, show me your 3 certs on the wall. I want to see something for infrastructure, operations, and for people. What kind of certifications would you be looking for?
So,
Yeah, you started, so you better answer it now.
yeah, actually, PCI DSS is the main, as you said, always security.
Right.
Then, from from health perspective, also hospital perspective, that is one thing, and overall health perspective, because after all, human being is going inside. So HIPAA is the
healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare. Then I have noted down many names too.
So you're going to list all the ISO standards now, about 600,023.
ISO certification.
Sure.
And Lead is there. Lead also, it helps to standardize the, the green, how green is the environment.
But that's a big twist, you know? Choosing between availability or green. But if you have to choose, green or available?
Available, yes.
Absolutely. Business critical, right?
Is the first.
Yeah. Availability first, right? And then we start looking into obviously being green, etc. Security, one big thing. HIPAA is obviously very healthcare related. PCI DSS is credit card industry related. Exactly. Yeah, HIPAA doesn't need. If I'm in manufacturing, don't need HIPAA, right?
In UAE now they are following the HIPAA. So for healthcare data, you should.
Healthcare has to be.
You should be HIPAA compliant.
But also for security, typically ISO 27001.
And
very common.
SOC is also
SOC,
there for
SOC.
1 and 2.
SOC, exactly. Correct. Yeah, FedRAMP is one of the. So some are across the board, some are very localized, some are very industry specific, right? Typically for infrastructure, people talk about uptime or TA942. Uptime, I don't know who know uptime. Unfortunately, uptime is not a standard. Yeah, a lot of people think it's a standard, but but it's not a standard. They're not an SDO, they're not accredited, they are...
Anybody, if you ask the uptime, what is the answer? 99.9.
Yeah,
you can always play with 99.9.
But that's the thing. But nobody can promise you 99.9 whatever based on infrastructure, because I can have a rated 4 or tier 4, but if I walk into your room and I hit my elbow on the EPO button, you're not going to hit your 99.9. So there are many factors. Infrastructure, processes, and people. As long as you get those under proper certifications, then you typically are in a good shape. And again, whatever standards or guidelines you use, there are plenty to choose from, depending on your personal preference, location where you operate, etc. But don't forget the people factor, because without trained people, of course, you end up in trouble. Yeah.
Cloud service provider allow you to put it in the agreement, like model.
Yeah, and normally that is there, but the question is always to what level, etc. Right? And that is always the problem with, because but it depends on who you are. It depends on who you are. If I am, say, Mickey Mouse and Co., and I say I want to audit your infrastructure, then Amazon says, who are you? Right? But if I'm the UAE government and I say, well, I would like to, sure, no problem, whenever. Right? So it's all about commercial and power and cloud, as in volume, as in who you are, right? The same as with commercial data center operators. If I come in and I say, I want to see all your engineering team, I want to see how you have done your power cooling, and I say, because I'm going to install 2 servers in your rack, then they just throw me out of the building. But if I say I take up the whole floor, then of course the willingness there, and it makes sense, right? We're all busy. Some of the data center operators I know, the data center managers, with all due respect, they are tourist guides. Because they have too many people coming in, want to see everything of the instruction the whole day. They're not busy solving problems, planning. They're basically going around with a little flag, say, follow me, I'm going to go to the UPS room now, right? Anyway, it was great. We've hit the time, so thanks to my expert panel for your value contribution. Actually, we should have asked everybody $20 at least for all these insights, but anyway, we're in a good mood. We give it to you for free. So thank you for the panelists.
Thank you.